MindPlore with Carla and Friends. And we are here to talk about what really is unconditional love. I'm so excited to be talking to the people here who no one is smiling. Everyone looks so serious. Love should be bringing you joy, not. So please find some joy for this conversation. You don't need to be so serious. Neville Gaunt is on the list of panelists, but he kind of got stuck in London with everything going on and the trains weren't moving. So now the train is moving, and he said if he can, he'll try to get on via phone, or we won't have Neville. We'll have Neville another time. He's trying his best to get here. I have Shivali, who you all know. Many of you know Asma, and Victor Irving Jenkins, who is frowning for some weird reason. I have no idea why. And we are going to be talking about unconditional love, where unconditional love will bring us. The actual topic is, wow, I know I did this correctly today. And I can't find it here. Oh, there you guys are. What does it mean to love unconditionally? I have my own thoughts on it, but I want to hear what these people have to say before I begin speaking. So let's start out with the youngest member here, Asma.
Okay.
What is unconditional love in your mind?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Right. So actually, I was also, when Carla shared with me the topic, unconditional love. So first thing was I don't have very I don't have a lovely nature with the people, but honestly, the one thing while searching the one thing that I found, and that actually I love about that, like whatever we do, that's actually how we can do that. We can do that because we love to do this something. So that's a beautiful thing, that when you love to do something, that's actually something that gives you energy, that gives you motivation, and that gives you power, and that's lovely. And the other thing is that when we look into the nature, there's only one thing that can connect with the people, connect us with the people, that can save the nature, that can save the world. That's actually love. That's love. I call it, for me, it's a care. It's a care for the other human being. It's a care for the nature. It's a care for the animals. And that is actually necessary. You don't do it, honestly, you don't do it for others. You do it for yourself. And that's the thing that is necessary for the survival. So that's initially, that's my point of view about it. And I think that's, you do it for your own self.
Really? If you're going to love someone unconditionally, do you put ideas, I want this from that person, or I want that from that animal? Or do you accept it as it is? Asma? Asma, can you hear me, Asma? Okay. Shivali, how do you define unconditional love?
Well, as I was sharing a little while earlier,
The moment I saw this topic, I was singing that song. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. And that gives me the clue. Don't hurt me. That means there is some sort of a conditioning. And it happens right from the time we are born. The baby is being conditioned, to receive things. If he doesn't receive, the child also cries. In all relationships, he sees this or she sees this getting reflected. So when I talk about or when I have to speak about unconditional love, uh, already I'm speaking about conditioning. That means there are certain conditions, then only I will love. But, and so even I grew up with that notion that if I love someone, there's a condition that that person has to return that love to me. It's like an exchange. It's like some sort of a barter which is happening. And nowadays we find that I love you, I love to do this. Love itself has become like a commodity, you know. But gradually I realized that love is not that which has conditions. Love is love by itself. It exists by itself. So if I have to love myself, I love myself. I love myself. I don't need a reason to love myself. So if I say, I love you, Carla, I love you because I love you. I love Victor because I love him. Not because if people ask, why do you love? What do you see in me that you love? I love because that's what it is all about. So love to me in reality should not have any condition behind it. This is how I look at it.
Okay, so you're saying that you just love someone because they're alive. Is that correct?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Yes.
I love someone because I love that person. That's it. I love because I love. Love exists. That person may not even know me. The person may not even realize it. That's pure love. There's no condition.
And
But
I
human beings are. Yes.
go on. I'm sorry. I
Yes,
thought
but no, Carla, but the only point that I'm trying to drive here is that human beings are conditioned. They are conditioned. And love is also one of those, what should I say, aspects of one's life, whether it's human relationships, whether it's love related to externals, whatever you want to call it. There is a kind of a, expectation. So for me, that is not love. And any kind of relationship that we see in this world around us, somehow it has some condition. So that shouldn't be, because that leads to hurt. That leads to, emotional debilities. So, but maybe with a passage of time, and then it varies from person to person. So for me, if you ask me what is love, that realization has come much later in life. That love is what it is. It doesn't need any condition. Just as God loves us. God loves us because He loves us. That is it. I don't know whether I can give more clarity on this, but yes, I'm not saying that I'm perfect or that, I'm some sort of an idealist person and that I don't get hurt. I'm not trying to say that. Believe me, I'm not like that. I do get hurt at times, but then that's not love. Love should have no preconditions. It exists by itself.
and I agree with you. Let's see what Victor has to say. Victor?
Yes, I can think it's impossible for me to even approach the topic of love without thinking about God. In my world, God is love, and of course, God loves. God loves me just because. And the love of God is actually the goal human beings could do well to aspire to. If I had to attach one word, a synonym, or an action that you do every time you love, it would have to be acceptance. Once I accept you, I consider myself as having loved you. Because I am a human being, I have preconceived notions, preconceived desires, expectations, a view of the world that makes sense to me. From time to time, different people being who they are, being nothing more than who they are, they threaten my impression of how the world is. And my inclination then is to get out of love, to get into judgment, to get into feeling hurt, to get into rejection. But love is a decision that I make, just like the decision that God made. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. I don't have a son to give. I have some resources that I can give, but love, unconditional love, often results in giving of something, giving of some value, but it always results in acceptance. And it is something that you do just so. In fact, Carla, if we could find a way to ignore the foibles of others, ignore what others do to impact us and give us outcomes that we don't like, we would be much better at loving conditionally, unconditionally. We'd be much better than loving unconditionally, and we could do it more consistently.
Okay.
I completely agree with you. Yes. Like as you pointed out, about God, actually that is the purest form, if we want to call it purest or whatever, because I feel when we are talking about God, the words become inadequate. But as human beings, we try to find the best of words. So yes, that's the highest form of love. That is why it has no condition. And the second thing which you pointed out about the purpose of our lives, that is exactly, when we are aligning with the purpose, why God created us, for example. If he has created us, there's a purpose behind it. And if he is the epitome of pure love, pure bliss, then he has created us. So the purpose of our lives is the same. And third thing which you mentioned about acceptance, perfect. Yes, I accept the person, he or she or whatever, as it is. And the other person also accepts me the way I am. There are no conditions. So yes, I agree.
Asma, what are your thoughts?
I totally agree with Shivali and Victor, and I think when we're talking about love and unconditional love, and when we look simply for a simple person, when we think it's not easy to love when you are hurt, as Shivali mentioned that when you get hurt, you get some sort of negative feelings about the person. You feel that, and that's natural. That's your emotions. But how at that time, how still you can care about the person? Still, when you get hurt, you get some sort of negative feelings about the person. You feel that, and that's natural. That's your emotions. But how at that time, how still you can care about the person? Still, when you get hurt, you get some
wait a minute, Asma. Wait a moment.
But how at that time, how still you can care about the person? Still, when you get hurt, you get some
I mean, Asma. Okay, I found the problem. Go on, Asma.
Yeah, I was okay. Yeah. So as I was saying, like still you care about the people, and that's how that happened. How you can do that? Just by accepting other people, just by accepting others' realities, and that's fine. We all have different opinions, we all have different mindset, and that's going to be happen because you are a different person and the other person is different. And everyone has his own mind and has his own opinion, and that is going to be happen, and that's the beauty. But with acceptance, you can love people. With acceptance, you can make the you can make the relations better, and that's only happen when you accept other person the way they are, with their weaknesses, with their strengths. And I think when you start accepting people with their all abilities and all characteristics, and then no one can stop you from loving other people. And this is and from also and this is I think this is great for the peace that we all always trying to, and for what we always putting efforts. And that's only can happen when you will accept other realities, when you will accept other people with their characteristics.
But that's what love is. It's
Yes.
respect and acceptance and allowing people to do what they want and not expecting them to do something because you want it that way. Loving someone, in my mind, is just accepting, okay, I would have loved to have something happen, but it didn't happen. And that person is still my friend. That person is still important to me. And it doesn't matter what they do. What matters is what's coming from within you. Shivali?
Yes, true. Uh, that is exactly the point that, uh, we as human beings, we will have expectations. So it's not that when we are discussing this today, we are saying that, it's some perfect world. We are not living in a perfect world. But the point is that if we learn to think like this, if we uncondition our mind, as I said, right from childhood, we are being conditioned. And, whatever is the experience also through our parents, through our friends, through, our surroundings, all that is feeding into us. So we tend to get conditioned, number one. And secondly, even if, my heart knows that, this is not right, I still go along with it because I want to. So yes, that leads to hurt. Again, it leads to hurt. But then the world would be a better place if we learn to accept. There's a word which I really like, that is surrendering to the divine will. For example, I surrender to God. That God, I'm just a channel. I'm just a channel. This is pure love. If I were to have love, then this would be pure love, where I am in complete surrender to the Lord's will. Then I don't question. God says, and so it is being done. That's the purpose of my life. Likewise, if we could see that thing in all our relationships, in all our dealings in the world around us, that essentially we are divine beings. We are souls, behind this entire matter and body. Uh, Things would be in a better way, I think. Look at the world around us. Everyone knows what is love, what is peace. Yet, uh, love and peace is something that we hardly speak about most of the time. So we should be spreading more love. We should be speaking more about love. The voice of love, the voice of peace has to be stronger. Most of the time, I find people don't want to discuss it also. This has been my experience, and I wonder why. And if I say, "Oh, I love you," that person could be a little embarrassed if I'm looking at human relationships. Why are you embarrassed? That means there's a certain perception, a certain conditioning of mind. So we really need to look into these things.
You're saying
I just
getting
want
hurt. We get hurt because we have an expectation. That's not unconditional love. That's putting a condition on it. It's like someone saying, come with me to the movies tonight. And something happens and you don't go to the movies and you feel hurt. That's putting a condition on whether you get to the movies or not. What I'm talking about is love that has no conditions. What is that? Victor?
As I have said numerous times, love is a decision. You decide to love. And once you decide to love, the requirements dissipate. The necessary things dissipate once you decide that you're going to love someone. If we were to try to describe love in secular terms, we think in terms of there's a certain way that we think about people. There's a certain way that we think about everything. We may feel our love in our hearts, but we're experiencing it through our minds. Because if we think of things a certain way, if we think of people a certain way, we can decide to love them. What often happens is that we think of people as troublesome. We think of people as a bother. We think of people as work. And when we think of them that way, it's difficult to love them unconditionally, because by the way that we think of them, we impose conditions. More so than anything, we can benefit ourselves best if we work on destroying the obstacles that stop us from loving people. And the most common obstacle that stops us from loving people is errant thoughts. We have to take every thought, take control of every thought. Any thought that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, which is that we all have God living inside of us, are thoughts that's going to get in the way of us loving people. And while we may not be perfect at doing that, we can be better at doing it today than we were yesterday, because of the knowledge that that's where we want to go. I've been saying for years I'm better than I was yesterday, not as good as I'm going to be tomorrow. And part of the thing that I'm better at is loving people, is loving me. My desire is to be, kind of trite expression, is to be a love machine, to be loving people, loving me. That is what I do. And I aspire to do it unconditionally. As long as I got this flesh that I have to live in, this flesh that wants everything now, all the time, then I am working to be more diligent in walking in love. And that's how I describe loving people, loving myself, as walking in love. It takes love for me to shut up and let other people talk, because I love talking so much. But it's unfair to monopolize conversations in my life. So part of my growth in love is being able to love people, even though they would rather not listen to me forever.
Someone just asked, and it's a really good question. What does the word unconditionally mean? Unconditionally is not putting a condition on your love, not saying, I don't love this person because he wouldn't talk to me at the moment I wanted him to talk to me, or because he did not make himself available to me at a particular time. Putting a condition on love makes it very difficult to love someone, because conditions change. And no matter how close you may be to any one person, including this crazy cat who is determined to have my attention, I love him anyway. He's driving me nuts right now. I want him to go away. And every time I put him away, he comes back and knocks at me. And, hey, Mom, I want your attention. Am I going to dislike him because I don't want to give him attention right now? Or am I going to give him a tiny bit of attention? Or am I going to skip the attention and love him anyway and kind of nudge him off my lap? He finally went on his own. But the point is, there was no condition on how I feel about it. The condition, if I put a condition and said, go away and nudged him hard, that would hurt. That would put a real condition on the relationship I have with the cat. Same with people. Our friends come at us. Oh, if you'll help me move this weekend, I'll love you forever. Well, I can't help you move this weekend. So, whether you love me or not has nothing to do with whether I can help you at the moment. Does that make it clear when I say conditionally, putting conditions, or allowing it to be unconditional? Just loving the person because the person is in front of you or in your mind. What do you think? Shivali, you smiled big as I was talking. I noticed that.
Firstly, two things are coming to my mind. They're interconnected, like what Victor said a little while earlier when we were talking about love and, like the divinity resides within us. And what you said just now, Carla, about conditioned and unconditioned, etc. You see, what is it that needs to be a kind of, which needs clarity, which most of the time I seem to forget. I'll speak for myself. What's my identity? Who am I? Do I identify with the flesh, with my bodily conditions? The conditioning is taking place because of that. But if I were to understand what's my reality, who am I? That I am a channel of the divine. I am a co-creator. I am a soul. The body that has been given to me is merely to experience the soul within it. But the point is that the conditions are there. We are being conditioned all the time, and not just in one birth. Like I believing in reincarnation, this conditioning is coming from my previous births also, and I'm creating that for my future also. But let's talk about the present. My identity, if I keep on constantly looking at myself just as a body, if I remain in this bodily consciousness, it is needed. I'm not denying it. Because if I have to experience my divine self, I will experience it through this body. I can do service to humanity through this body, right? But what I'm trying to understand about myself, and I wish everyone understood this, that's why we have prayers, we go to the church, we go to the temple, we read our books, we read our religion, whatever we do. It is a means of connecting with our inner self and hear the mind and whatever we want to talk about, the soul. So beyond this body, there is a mind, there is a soul, the divine soul is there. So the challenge lies in understanding this. If we are simply caught up in the externals, in the material world, in our bodily consciousness, then we are bound to be conditioned again and again. We are bound to be hurt because we have forgotten our original self. The original self is that we are not these bodies, we are souls. So, what is the purpose of my life? If I could understand that, then I will also understand what is love. It's pure, absolute, blissful thing. It has no conditions at all, as you said, Carla. But most of the time, we are living in our bodily consciousness. We are happy. We are feeding ourselves. We want to do so many things for ourselves. We want it now. And with passage of time, with social media, with consumerism really rearing its head like a demon, we are kind of, completely absorbed. And whatever we are doing, is making us more and more conscious of our bodily identities. Who is actually wanting to speak about? They say, okay, we have just one life. My friends sometimes tell me, oh, Shivali, we have just one life. Just, eat, drink, be merry. then why do we get hurt? Because we are conditioning ourselves. We are born conditioned from our previous births. We are conditioning ourselves. So first, therefore, it's important to make that inner journey and to question, who am I? Am I this body or am I the soul within? And why God has created me? Why has God created me? Until someone thinks, no, I'm the creator, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer. I am not the creator, I'm not the enjoyer, I'm not the controller.
Now
So
you're
we're trying to control things.
let me know when you're finished. I broke it.
Yes, Carla. Yes, Carla. Yeah, what I'm trying to say, we are trying to control things. So relationships also we want to control. We want to control things, you know. So love for us is like also like a commodity now. We want to control. We want to, you know, like if you do this, then I do this. I love you because of this. I'll do this if you, oh, you love me, you should do this for me. This is what I was trying to say.
And I hear what you're saying. And the gentleman who asked the question says our whole life is based on conditions. If that
Based on what?
on conditions. And if that is so, why listen to our inner being, our inner soul, which is guiding us through life? Is our life based on what everyone else tells us to do or what we feel is right within? An example, please forgive me, Rehan, but you want to improve the economic conditions, not only in Pakistan, around the world. That's a wonderful goal, but it doesn't have a condition. It's good for Shivali, but Victor, forget about him. We're not going to take him out of poverty, but we'll help Asma out of poverty. There's no condition on it. He's going after eliminating poverty. If that is the case, and he's listening to his inner being, is that conditional activity or is that unconditional activity? Asma.
Yeah, it's actually very complicated when you say unconditioned. Actually, if you think philosophical, unconditioned something is also a condition. So it's a very complicated term. And yes, if we look at our life is also conditioned with a lot of things. We are here. There are different, we can say different theories, different ideologies, and that are honestly also based on condition. And unconditional love is also a condition. But the thing is that why we need to do the have an unconditional love. The one thing is that if you look at, you need love. That's also a condition, but you do it actually for your own self. Everyone heard a story of plant, like if you there's a plant, and if you say something lovely things to the plant grows. And whenever you starting saying something that are hurtful and meaning thing to the plant, after some days you will see the plant is going to be died. You can see the effects in the plant, and that's actually that the same happen with us. Love grows us. We need love to grow, and that's what happened. And why you need to do the unconditional thing? I also heard, like I have a sensitive nature, and I used to do a lot of things, but when I didn't get the same response from the people, it hurts me. And I am said, like, then why I have to care for the people? I'm not going to care it. But the next time I feel care. Next time I also want to do something lovely for them, because I feel that. And then I remind myself one thing: Asma, you are not doing this for others. You are actually doing for yourself, because you love to do that, because that's something that helps you. That's something that actually gives you some peace inside your heart. That's something that's necessary for your own growth. So you are doing it, actually, even the unconditional love, you are doing it for yourself, for your own nourishment. So yes, expectation. Now when we're talking about the expectations, we are human, we have expectation. But when we talk about the God, God doesn't love us like because I am Asma and she's Shivali and she's Carla. God loves us because God loves, because who He is, not because what I am and what you are. He loves us because what He is, and that's how we need to love. I love someone because I want to love them. I have a care for them. I want to, and that you do achieve for yourself. And then expectation, we human have expectation. That's a fine thing. That's a fine thing. But one thing you just need to keep in your mind: we are humans. Sometimes we get late. Sometimes we have a lots of weaknesses. We have a lots of problems, lots of issues. And when you keep that things in your mind, that you get get a critical analysis that give you a support that the other person also have a lots of weaknesses. Other person also have to deal with a lot of stuff. You might don't know about that. You might be ignorant about of that, but they are dealing with a lot of stuff, and might be because of that they are not available for your help. They are not available at the moment when you want them to be here, because they are human beings, and human beings have a lots of they have to deal with a lots of things. We have to go to work, because for our livings we have to do a lot. We have lots of other duties, other responsibilities. And that's when you keep that thing in your mind, then you feel okay. Yes, we expect because we have that, but just when your expectation doesn't fulfill, just keep that thing in mind. Like you, whatever you are doing, honestly, you're doing it for your own self. You're not doing anything for others. Somehow, even if you're doing the volunteer services, you want to do that. That's why you are doing it. You might give reward from the God, you might give something from, you might get other rewards, but you're doing it for your own self.
Okay, let's go back to that. I like what you said, and I want to add to it. A condition is put on ourselves. The man who's been commenting, and I really love his comments today, we set conditions on all relationships. Well, if we set those conditions, are we really loving someone? Are we loving and accepting them for who they are or what they believe? I remember when I started doing these interviews with Rehan, and the first one he gave me was in the first few that he gave me someone that we really did not agree upon anything. And I don't even know why I did the interview, but I did the interview and I just sat there and I felt like boiling. And then I realized as I listened to this person and he explained why he thought as he did, I began to accept him for what he is. Am I going to do what he did? No. Do I want to be involved with his thinking? Nah, not for me. But at the same time, just listening without judging, I don't like this, I like that, not so sure about that. That's really good, but blah, blah, blah. It's learning to accept people as they are. I think Victor talked about it, accepting. And if we learn to accept people and not expect them to be a certain way, then we can love them. Yeah, we're going to disagree with our parents. I can't tell you how many times I disagreed with my parents. I couldn't even count it on all my fingers and toes and the fingers and toes of everyone in my family. But that didn't keep me from loving them and respecting them. So is it necessary to put conditions on someone? Or is it better to just say, okay, that's mom and that's how she acts and I got to accept it? And then later, believe it or not, I have seen myself reacting like my mom would react. And I'm like, oh no, I did a Cecilia Richmond. I don't like that. But I did it anyway because it's a part of me too. What we don't like is usually reflected back to us by others. Can we learn to love them? What do you think?
Right. You are exactly right. And I think that doesn't stop us from being loved. And love is doesn't something, I don't think that can exist on conditions. Love is something, when if you want to say you are born, love is something that is in every person. And that's something that God gives us. Even this world is based on love. There are lots of things are there. And why you need love? The only thing when you put conditions, with conditions, you can't love someone, you can't see that growth, you can't see that peace that you want to see. If you want to see that, yes, for that you have to love them without putting conditions, without putting expectations. And then you can feel the growth, then you can feel the peace. And for that, there's only one thing, as Carla said, as Victor said, we need to accept the people. Even if you don't want to accept the people, you just need to accept the love. You need to accept the care that you have for other people. And when you will accept that, then you will realize that. And for that, you need to, being a human, there are lots of things about me that other people might doesn't like it. They don't like about me, lots of things. So we just need to, for that, we just need to have a analysis of the things, of the situations. And when you do that, you get a clarity, and that helps you to starting accepting other people. So we just need to have an analysis. We just need to think more deeply, and I think that solve a lots of stuff.
What do you think?
And most important.
Oh,
yeah, just one thing add. Most important thing is that just ask one thing: why you love other people, why you need to love other people, why the love need to be unconditional. And when you would ask this why, you get a lot of questions. So why is going to be solve a lots of your issues.
Thank you, Asma. What do you think, Victor? And you are frowning like crazy today.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Thinking. He's deeply reflecting upon our words.
I'm a man and I look like a man. And that's all there is to it. Well, however, I am practicing, I'm practicing being loving because I'm listening to what's being said, and listening to what's being said takes me out of the category of the people who are waiting to talk. I heard an interview once where the interviewer was asking the interviewee, do you listen to people or do you wait to talk? And he admittedly said that he waits to talk. Well, I'm not waiting to talk. I'm actually listening and absorbing what's being said. And from time to time, I scribble little notes on a piece of paper so that I can remember the thought that was evoked by the comment that you made. Well, the difficulty with that is the little note that I make to myself, the context is completely gone. But what I will say about what's being said is, from time to time, we see people demonstrating objectionable behavior, and we don't like it, and we get out of our love walk. We stop loving them per se. And then yet at other times we see people do objectionable behavior and we continue moving forward, continue loving them because we know that loving people is what we're supposed to do. The difficulty that occurs, I think, is something called collective behavior. When a lot of people are assessing something a certain way, and we're the only person in the room that at the moment is thinking about unconditional love. We're the only person in the room that understands that no matter what we are facing, or no matter what a person does, we are called to love them unconditionally. And we're the only one that's in that place right then. Well, then the criticism starts to come in from the other people who are observing the same thing you are observing. And they tell you, what do you mean you're not mad about that? What do you mean you still give them the benefit of the doubt? So now we're in that place where our decision to love is being called into question. And those pesky little human beings in our lives that threaten their relationship with us because we're not behaving in an unloving way can sometimes be troubling. And we find ourselves alone. And the only thing that's really worse than loving someone or not being loved or not being in a love environment is to be standing alone somewhere, because being alone doesn't feel good. Being alone is another excuse, another condition that we have to not loving people. So to sum up what I'm saying is, even when we realize loving past the fault is necessary, we now have to deal with the people that are not loving us because we're not being critical like they are.
Do we need to deal with them? Do we need to focus on someone who is not giving back what we think we should be getting?
Based on our assessment of love, we don't need anything. We don't need to do anything. We simply love because. Getting to that place is not a short journey. Getting to that place is not a journey free of obstacles. But understanding that that is how it ought to be is the best knowledge that we can have as we move forward.
I have some thoughts on that, because you're putting conditions there. Is that unconditional or is that conditional? Shivali will like me if I bring her to the show.
Shivali will like you if you don't.
Can I finish my point? Asma will like me if I leave her alone for a few days and I don't ask her technical questions. And I have been recently, I haven't needed to ask you technical questions. But what I learned from doing the technical questions and learning from her, I learned to be more self-sufficient on what I need and what I need to do. Did I stop loving Asma because she really needed to do work without me saying, Asma, I don't understand this in Zoom, and you're the only one I know who can help me because of different reasons? No, I still cared for Asma. I still cared for Shivali during the weeks she wasn't coming. I had no idea why. I began to think, hey, I did something wrong. But did I do something wrong? Or is that all in my mind? It's love for someone else and expecting the same thing from them, really loving them, or is it accepting them for who they are and what they are? Shivali, I'd like your answer on that.
Carla, I understand what you're saying, but while we're discussing this, we have to understand, like we were talking about acceptance. That do I have to do this or do I have to do that? And quite some time back, when Victor mentioned about thoughts, our mind, etc. So there's another aspect to this. What about loving myself? The setup in which I grew up here in India, I can talk about that. No one ever spoke to me about self-love. No one ever told me that learn to love yourself. It was always about help others, love others, be kind, be merciful. It was much later in my life I realized that what about myself? Do I honestly love myself? But nobody in my society, in my setup, uh, ever, I never had a clue to it, I should say. I didn't even know there's something called self-love. It never existed for me. Because as we all know, we cannot serve from an empty cup. You're talking, then it sounds very idealist. Like I will love, but oh, I don't need love. Then let's understand one thing. That if firstly I have to accept myself. I'm not even talking about accepting others. What about me accepting myself the way I am? Do we really accept ourselves the way we are? I think this is what is coming to my mind again and again for the past few minutes as I was listening to all of you. That what about us? What about me as an individual? And this is not being selfish. If someone says thinking about yourself, loving yourself is being selfish, no, because as Victor was saying a little earlier, my mind is feeding me with a lot of thoughts, my experiences, whatever perceptions I'm gaining out of those. So what if I understood myself? I accepted myself that, okay, I may be very good in XYZ, but I may not excel in some. I'm not supposed to be perfect. It took me a long time to accept this, that I needn't be perfect. So, firstly, accepting oneself the way I am. If I can do this, it actually makes it much easier to accept others also. So, this has been a challenge for me. And fortunately, by the grace of God, I've understood this. That
That,
loving oneself is important. Yes, yes.
that challenge is the challenge that keeps us from loving unconditionally. I have looked, I've been around people and I hate to admit it, I sometimes judge, I don't know why you're doing that. That's the most stupid thing. Then I turn around and I see myself doing the same thing in a different context. What we don't, in my mind, what we don't accept in ourselves is what we don't accept in other people. And until we can learn to love ourselves the way we are without a condition, Carla, you must talk to this person once a day because you don't like them. Well, I don't do it. Do I not do it because I'm being told I'm doing it, or do I not do it because I don't want to face that part of myself? And I'm putting a condition on the love I want to have for myself, as well as the love that I have for another person. Asma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually was enjoying listening, and there are lots of things are going on right now in my mind, and it's actually things are honestly very complicated. We have a lot of theories, we have a lot of laws, a lot of rules about something, and they differ. They differ in many. They differ everywhere. If I say. Doesn't apply in all the conditions. That's the honest thing. But yes, if we are talking about love, we are talking about acceptance. And as Shivali said, the most important thing is that you accept yourself. I was just thinking, honestly, I was thinking this one thing, and like sometimes you love other people, but the other person always hurt you, right? In that condition, you can't love. You are getting hurt from every time. So you have to stop. Sometimes you have to stop showing your care. At that point, you can't you can't care that person. Even if you're getting hurt, your life is ruined just because of that. So you have to look at this stuff. You have to consider this stuff. What is important? Why you want that? You have to ask these questions in your life. And for that, when you would ask the questions, then there are lots of things would be clear. And I think self-love, as Shivali was saying, that's the most important thing. As Shivali mentioned, in India, similarly in Pakistan, I also have seen the same thing. And the one thing that is we are used to taught since our childhood, this is where we judge ourselves in every condition. I was the one I used to feel myself like I am the one who is guilty in every condition. I used to feel that. I put all the judgment on me, like I might be that happened wrong because of me, every time because of me. And this is not also, this is just a mindset. Then that becomes your mindset, and that's just destroy your inner self. So yes, you need a balance. You need to ask few questions. Yes, you need to love unconditional. Unconditional love doesn't mean now what is unconditional love is going to be. Unconditional love doesn't mean like you start hurting yourself for others. Now, if you're loving yourself, you start hurting other persons. You have to be accountable. Even in that condition, you need accountability. You have to be accountable for what you are doing and for the things. So all that things, there isn't one thing that applies. There are lots of things. There are multiple reasons. There are multiple things when that accumulate and that works together. And for that, we have to put efforts. For that is the actually survival war that we have to deal with that throughout our life.
Right.
But just one thing. Like just because, just don't love, just don't judge people, don't hate people, just because of your past ideologies. I just wanted to add one thing. Because just because of your own ideologies, don't put labels and tag on other people. That is what you can. Give a chance. Keep your eyes open, keep your arm open, keep your mind open. And look for this stuff, look for the things, read this stuff, get that. And yes, with that, there are a lot of things get sorted. But yes, just don't judge, don't label people because of your past ideologies, past experiences, and past judgments.
And that's true, and we all do it. Just because someone was nice to me, I'm going to like them for the rest of my life. Not necessarily. They break that trust between myself and the person. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with them. I think you brought up an important point that everyone needs to bring up and think about, is that we need to have that trust. Love also comes with trust, being open to trusting, whether it's conditional or not conditional. Okay, we are going to begin ending up now. I'd like to get some words from everyone about what they got from today's show. And I'm going to start with, let's start with Victor.
We did not make a distinction.
Go on.
We did not make a distinction during the show between love, the feeling, and like all feelings is temporary, and then love, the decision to love, which is timeless. The love that the feeling of love sometimes follow our decision to love someone. And when it feels good, we're all excited about it and we remember that we love the person. But from time to time, someone that we love, that feeling of love doesn't exist. And many of us think that at that time we have stopped loving the person, but we really haven't stopped loving them. So when we are talking about love on this show, we are not talking about the feeling of love. We are talking about love being the action word, love being the thing that we decide to do no matter what.
I agree and disagree because a very wise person and well-known spiritual teacher, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, says, love is not an emotion, it's your very existence. And love does lay under everything we do and everything we think, although we may not realize it. Shivali.
Okay. Two things which I'm understanding now is that love is a conscious decision. If I were to put it this way, it's a conscious decision in a situation or whatever. Secondly, what Carla says, that yes, we are like, that's why I said a little while earlier, God is pure bliss. And if we are representing that divinity, through us, then love is means it is existing by itself. Okay. And fun thing on this, my takeaway from this is, as Victor has pointed out again and again, is that love for me, therefore, is when I'm being myself. I'm here talking about self-love first. So I'm being myself the way I am, and I'm accepting it. And likewise, when I'm looking upon the others around me, if I look at Victor, if I look at Asma, I accept them the way they are. That's it. No other thought comes to me. And this is a decision that I take, but it is taken consciously. For me, it's a conscious decision.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Shivali. Asma.
Yeah, exactly. As Shifali said, I would second her. And I just wanted to add one thing, like just keep, like, don't limitize yourself in the ideologies and in the theories that you already have. Just keep yourself open for the new things, for the new theories, for the new ideologies, for the new things. Even if you don't like someone, actually you're not like disliking some person, you are disliking some characteristics, some ideologies, some qualities. That is actually, that is the that are, just because of that you use dislikeness. But just because of that, don't dislike and don't hate people. You're actually not liking some opinions, and work on that. Accept the people as they are and keep your mind open for the new things, for the new learnings. And when you will keep your mind open, keep yourself open, lots of issues and lots of questions automatically get solved.
And I love this because we all have slightly different meanings to love, but we all come back to the same whole thing, that it unites us and doesn't separate us. And we will talk about this again on Thursday with, I believe we're going to have Jeff Pulver, Comrade, and Pastor Billy, and possibly one other person who's been bugging me about getting here. So guys, have a good day. We're going to go off air and we will see you on Thursday with more about love. Bye. Wave goodbye, everyone.